disruption is discontinuity in my opinion. So whatever was working stops working, new things have to happen. So it's the end of something and beginning of something else, I guess.
Right. And how often would you say it has happened to you or your company in the last decade or so?
I would say this is the third time I'm seeing this. I've seen this twice before, and this would be the third time we are seeing this.
Okay. And what's different about this time from the previous two occasions?
The first time that happened, we were a very small company, so it was quite manageable in the context of where we were and what we had to do. The second time was quite traumatic. It took us a while. This was around the 2007, 2000. The first one was around .com stuff. So this was in 2001. We were 125 people. So the situation was very different. We had to change focus from there. We were mostly focused on R&D stuff. We moved to product development and saying full product development. In 2008 was the second time we saw this. At that time, the emphasis at that time was we were again focused on product companies doing things. The market kind of tanked all of a sudden, and we had to look for new things to do. And we learned a lot from those experiences and kind of evolved and morphed ourselves the second time. And right now I see this is the third time I see this kind of a situation where business that you're holding on to is kind of disappearing. It's like holding ice cubes, and all of a sudden everything is fine. The more love you give, the faster it melts.
And why is that happening?
Essentially, the main theme is that the effort required for the same work is shrinking. So whatever required at some amount of effort, you just need fewer people, fewer effort to do that. So whatever work we had, which was effort based, now wherever we had a bigger team, now we just don't need that many people to do the job. The customers are all happy. You see everything is good, but your billing just comes down because you just don't have. You just don't need that many people to do the work.
So is this more predominant in some industries and some verticals that you deal with?
No, I think our industry is mainly the verticals that we focus on are more the tech companies, the software product companies. They see this first, but I see this trend across every single industry. I think we now have better tools, better automation, better technology. The implication on that is that you just require far less effort to do the same work.
Right. And how is it going to change? I mean, I think there are two parts of this question. One is this dramatically different from the earlier shifts that you saw or the earlier disruptions that you saw? And if so, or if not, I mean, how is this going to play out in the next year or two?
No, I think it's very different as a shift in some sense. In the past shifts, there was always something else that we knew was going to happen, and we had, as a company, we had to transition from one place to the other place. Here what I see is this is going to hit the industry far wider than we have seen in the past, and predominantly because we are in the industry where we are effort based, and most of the work that we do as an industry is effort based. And if the effort required for the work comes down, you really have to find new things, different things, and taking the people along is going to become harder and harder because there are a lot of people who have not necessarily the best skills for the next world as it comes along.
Right. So are we in India at a disadvantage in this new scenario, or could we be at an advantage as well? Or a particular disadvantage?
Yeah, so there are some disadvantages. See, it's like this, the market and the world is moving really fast. Whoever can move fast will survive and do well. That's no doubt about it. That's for individuals and for companies. So I wouldn't say it's an India specific problem. The problem is going to happen everywhere. And I think if we can learn fast and move fast, then I think we would be in an advantage because there's a lot to be done. There's a lot of new things to do. There is new technology that's happening. There are lots of opportunities for sure. It's just that these are very different from what we are used to in the past. So for companies like us where we have a lot of business on existing premise or theory or whatever else, all of a sudden that starts to feel different and you need to do something different now.
Right. So the other big question, so a lot of companies are planning for digital, right?
Correct.
And the question here is, can you actually plan? I mean, do you have to set 3-year plans, or does it happen quickly? What are your customers telling you?
No, I think everybody is looking at digital. From our point of view, digital is not just about. Maybe everything is digital in some sense, right? So our focus is that you want to focus on how do you create business disruptions, better business models to solve. And I think the biggest competition is the companies that are born in the cloud companies. So these are companies that inherently happened in the cloud. They have new business models. And they are the ones who are creating a lot of disruptions. And the existing companies who are incumbents, whether it's large banks, large utility companies, large airlines, automobiles, any industry you can pick up, every industry has this problem that whatever they are doing they're not just competing with people like them anymore. They are competing with these new upstart companies, which are starting from scratch with a clean slate of paper or clean slate to go with, and it's very hard to compete with them. And the main three things that I think very relevant in that context is, one is that most of these companies are able to deliver very quickly. So the speed and agility is something that's phenomenal. The second thing is they are using a lot of data and using data intelligently. So they have the ability to do a lot of automation, machine learning, whatever else you might call new algorithms available to just take advantage of the data that's available. And the third part that they do very well is integration. So today most of these companies, which are all totally born in the cloud, they are not dependent on data that's only with them, but they are integrating with data that's available from all the global sources. And these three things kind of put the existing incumbents at a disadvantage, because they are not able to integrate their own data within their company, leave alone outside data, and they are not set up to deliver as fast as some of these companies are delivering today.
Right. So last question, in some ways, in some ways competition seems to be dying in as much as you don't know where it's coming from. Earlier you could define competition and say my competition is ABC enterprises or XYZ enterprises. Today it could be a completely different set of random enterprises who have perhaps no stake in this game, at least as we knew it, and are suddenly emerged with products and solutions which threaten your very existence.
No, that's true, but I think customers is where the anchor is. Okay, it's not the competition. You have to hold your customers and do what they want. And when you're looking at customers, you need to look at customers in their new way of life. So most of these new customers are all millennials or people who are using next generation tools, and you need to be ready for them. So I think you just have to hug your customers and hold on to them. And if you can do that, good things will happen.
Finally, what's the one or two big things that you see happening in 2016? Not necessarily disruptions, but what could be on the plus side?
No, I think there's a lot that's going to happen because of sensors and IoT kind of things, people collecting data from all over the place. Events are all getting logged and tracked, so that's one good thing. Second thing is we also have the ability to analyze the events that are coming in. So that's, I think, a lot of innovation around data and analytics is going to happen in a big way. And the third more important thing is that I should be able to consume my insight at the time I need it. So this whole business of actionable insights is really where the world is going. And I think the technology to do many of these things are there and getting evolved on an ongoing basis. So I think getting that to mainstream is going to be the key for 2016.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sure, my pleasure.